Welcome back to Data Strategist channel. My name is Stuart, and today I'm going to be taking you through what is a data engineer. Now in this video, we're going to be covering off things like breaking down the role itself into sort of some key elements for you. We're going to be looking at sort of the roles you'll take within your career path as a data engineer. We're going to be looking at something called T-shaped experience. Now what that is when you're a data engineer, for example, you will get certain skill sets that fit within the data engineer sort of category. But as you progress through your career, you'll start picking up other skill sets from other roles. So within a data engineer, for example, you will become a bit of a data analyst, a bit of a data DevOps engineer. And what you do is take key components of those skill sets. You're not going to be experts in them, but you're going to take key components in them. And that's where you get a nice T-shape, where you've got in-depth, you are a data engineer, but then you've got other skill sets that come from other areas as well. We're also going to be looking at tooling and methodologies that you're going to be going through. We are also going to cover off education and how important of a role that plays in becoming a data engineer in 2023. But before we jump into the video, what my ask of you is number one, if you're a data engineer or you are just looking to become a data engineer or a senior data engineer, whatever you are, drop a comment below on how your journey went and how you became a data engineer and what sort of things you've done in your career. We really want to try and help each other out in becoming data professionals, and you only do that by really learning from other people's experiences. So before you leave this video today or leave this channel today, drop a comment in and just give us some feedback on how you started your data engineering journey. Are you a self-learner? Did you go on education? Did you do an apprenticeship? Let's chuck some comments together and just see where we go. So without further ado, let's jump in to today's video. So the definition of a data engineer is this: responsible for designing, maintaining and optimizing data infrastructure for data collection, management, transformation and access. Sounds great. A lot of buzzwords in there. So let's just quickly move on and get into breaking down that role. First up, you're going to be building data pipelines. Essentially, data pipelines are when a source system generates information or data and it travels all the way through at rest to a data warehouse, a data lake, a database, whatever you've got going on. And your job is to get it from A to B. That's essentially what a data pipeline is. The next part is who you're going to work with mainly. Your customers are generally going to be data analysts or data scientists in a data team. So analysts need data in a structured format. Scientists would rather it clean and in a raw format. So you're going to have to work with that. Whilst I'm thinking about it, you're also going to be looking at working with software engineers on how to present data back, how data transposes through a system as well. So they're going to be your three main customers. You're going to need to be able to develop and implement data architecture. So what databases to use when, what sort of open source technology, what infrastructure you're going to be needing to use. You're going to need to understand it and be able to build it. It's not necessarily saying that you're an architect, because that is a different type of role, but you're going to need to understand the tools you're going to need to use to implement the architecture. Then you're going to be going into data security. So when data is moving, you need to be able to make sure that it is secure at all times, especially if you are ISO regulated or if you're handling sort of sensitive information like customer information or credit card details. You need to understand data security at some level. The one thing that doesn't really get talked about a lot is debugging. When you're starting out as a data engineer, most of the time you're going to be spent debugging your own code or somebody else's. And you're going to find that quite a lot. No one really ever talks about it as part of an introduction into data engineering, but that's one of the main pieces. If you've ever done any coding or any sort of simple coding like VBA scripts or something like that, you'll understand that going through your own code, especially if it's not documented the best way or if it's not sort of commented the correct way, is very infuriating and time consuming. So you'll be doing quite a lot of that. So when I talk to data engineers, I always ask them to keep up to date with the latest trends and technologies in data engineering. It's a fast moving place. And I think that if people really want to be on the top of their game, they need to keep up to date with the latest trends and technologies. Now, another way to do that is to go to your local meetups. So there's Python meetups, there's Java meetups, whatever sort of language you're into, that you would really just get to meet other people from other industries and understand how they're handling the same situation that you probably are facing. It's really important to kind of keep you up to date with everything, because they'll mention a technology or they'll mention a technique that you've not heard of. And that's a really powerful thing to have. And I really think it's part of your role to do that. You may not get paid for it, but I think if you want to become a senior data engineer, then this is what you should be looking to do. And then the obvious thing is coding and back-end processes. So if you love coding itself, if you like writing code, and if you love processes, and you're not so keen on customer-facing things, then this is probably the role for you. So your career path. You will start off as a junior data engineer, moving up to data engineer, and then get to senior. We see this pattern in probably every technology job that we've ever seen or applied for. They've got these 3 layers. Then you move into 2 different areas. One is potential leadership roles, exactly the same as data analysts. You move into the head of engineering, director of engineering, or you move into sort of a principal data engineer, much more focused on the technology and the technical skills rather than the leadership. Some principal data engineers have leadership as well, but they really want to focus on the actual technicalities of the job and the technical skills they're going to need and bring to the team. Whereas your head of or director of move further away from the technicality and move into that leadership and thought thinking space. That brings us on to T-shape experience. Now, T-shape experience is essentially the role that you carry out. You will get a lot of skills that require you to carry out that role. And as you get more experienced or more senior, there will be other roles that you need to start taking skills from. So when I look at a data engineer, I also think of a data analyst skill set and a DevOps engineer skill set that you're going to be needing. But starting out as a junior, you only really need a few things. So as a junior, you're going to need data pipelines. You're going to need to understand normalization, so how data is normalized, and Python as your language set. Now, there are other languages out there, but really, in the mainstream, Python is what data people use, or data engineers use. As you sort of gain more experience and move into a data engineer role, you're going to need to pick up database design, data quality, ETL development now. So it's not just the pipeline, it's the actual extract, transform, load, how that all works together. Then you're going to be looking to take on some of the DevOps engineering stuff. So you're going to need to understand infrastructure, your release process or release cycle. And then from the data analyst side, who are going to be your main sort of customers, schema modeling. How are you going to build sort of those star schemas, or how does the data get to those star schemas essentially? But it's good knowledge to have, and these are the other skills you're going to be picking up. Then when you get to your senior data engineer, you're going to be looking at your data architecture in a lot more depth. Productionization, automation. These are the things that are going to be really focused on as you progress and move forward. Then you're going to be pulling on more skills from that DevOps engineering function. So you're looking at containerization and data security. They're the things you're going to be picking up as part of that sort of experience. I hope that gives you kind of a good overview of what the skill sets and things you're going to be doing as you progress your career. But if you're just starting out, data pipelines, normalization, and Python are the 3 things that will get you that sort of junior data engineer role. Moving on to tooling, I just want to talk you through some of the infrastructure, databases, and open source technologies you're going to come across. It's not a comprehensive list by any means, but it just gives you that sort of understanding that what you're going to come across when you go work through as a data engineer. Starting off with infrastructure, you're looking at on-prem, you're looking at Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, or a mixture of all 4 together. And you really need to understand the limitations of those or the positives of those and just get to grips with some of the services that they offer. Then we move on to databases. You're going to come across your standard relational databases, Oracle, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MySQL. But then you've got your NoSQL databases, MongoDB, Redis, DynamoDB, Cassandra. And then there's the other type of thing. So how do we store data? May not necessarily be a database. It could be Parquet files that we start storing information in. So these are just a variety and flavor of what sort of databases you could be working with. Then one of the big things with being a data engineer or a data analyst is the open source technology that you can use. And the Apache framework gives us quite a lot. So we've got Spark, Kafka, Hadoop. These are sort of the main sort of tools you're going to be using that are open source and have quite large communities, and that'll allow you to sort of advance in your career as a data engineer. So methodologies, we are going to cover off two. One is Agile. So Agile is the fail-fast methodology that is kind of standard in any industry within technology. And the other one is going to be our release management process. So you need to plan, build, test, deploy. You really need to understand how that works, and sort of your senior data engineer should be sort of an expert in this by now, and they should be bringing you forward on that. So they're the methodologies that you're going to be looking at. This is a question I get asked quite a lot. How long does it take to become a senior data engineer? I've said it in the other videos I've done as well, that really being a junior with little to no experience, you're looking at 18 to 24 months before you can start moving into that sort of data engineering or data analyst space. Then when you're in that sort of role, it takes about 2 to 6 years, a little bit longer for an engineer to move up into that senior data engineer role. And that's really down to technology changes and sort of the skill sets you're going to be needing around the DevOps side of things before you start becoming a senior data engineer. So my advice is it's going to take you at least 6 years before you become a senior data engineer. How about education requirements? There are no real barriers when it comes to this. There's not a fast rule to this at all. Me personally, I think that anybody can code, anybody can be a data analyst, a data engineer, with the right determination and the right thought process around learning and how you structure your learning. You can become a data engineer. What education gives you is that really good framework to learn from and teaches you how to learn. So if I was to go back and become a data engineer now, and I had the option to go to university, I would say get a grounding in computer science, get a degree in that with sort of data modules within it. That gives you the understanding of how applications work. And for an engineer, that's really important in the way that you're going to operate throughout your career. But again, I always say people over education, because you can teach technical skills to people, but you can't teach the determination or how to have that drive to learn and be at the forefront of technology and data trends. That comes down to the person themselves rather than anything else. So there you have it. We have covered off what is a data engineer. I hope you found this video useful for you. If you're just starting out, or you just want to understand what a data engineer is, or you're just looking to see, is this the right job for you, or what skills do I need? I hope this video has given you some insight into that. Now please hit the like and subscribe button. Drop some comments in. If you've got any questions for me, feel free to reach out. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.